Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How are you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right, Jared. Doing all right. How are you today, good sir?
Doing all right. I geared my entire day around this giant storm that was supposed to hit Columbus today. And it's still dry as hell outside. So yay. I weather talk for Sun Card. Where's Sun Card? Sun Card. Where's Sun Card? We're doing weather talk and he's not even in the live chat. Man, what are you gonna do, Kyle?
Well, speaking of weather, Jared. Speaking of weather, there's been some big booms recently.
There you go. There you go, Kyle. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. Yeah.
There you go.
We just did our mock class for the month of June last week. And Kyle, I feel like this happened to us when we did the May mock as well. Like we did a May mock and then there was several booms that came right after, or maybe that was in April. I forget. So what I'm saying is that we need to do more mock classes.
But we're not going to today.
We're very lucky. And I just want to say we are recording this at approximately 8:30 on Sunday night. There's been a lot of like Twitter rumblings that there's more coming. So in case something hits like really late tonight for some reason, although I feel like 8:30 p.m. just so we're clear, it's p.m. It's 20:30. Just so we're clear, don't typically hit this late. I think we're safe. But since we last talked, Ohio State has added 3 commitments, all in-state. 2 from the class of 2024, 2 from Cleveland Glenville. They're the same 2 from the 2024. And they get their second player for the 2025 class, quarterback Tavian St. Clair from Bellefontaine, Ohio. Or Bellefontaine, depending upon if you're a local or not.
There you go.
It's a whole Lima thing. Just depends upon if you're a local or not. Teddy Giddens Sr. Indeed. Teddy Giddens Sr. Indeed. Yeah, he's got Glenville pumping again. And add 2 more. Bryce West and Demarion Witten, who we both had. Kyle and I both had in our mock classes last week, or rather we had both of them in our mock class last week. That would be the correct way of saying that. So no huge surprises. There had certainly been some Michigan rumblings that Bryce West was seriously considering Michigan. And I never bought in on that with Bryce West at all. The Aaron Scott to Michigan rumors have a lot more substance to them, although I'm still pretty firmly in, but we'll talk about Aaron Scott later. We're talking about Bryce West right now.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I agree. I mean, there was a lot of talk West was about like tired of people just penciling him in, which definitely had a little worry, but yeah, I agree with Jared. I wasn't too concerned that he was going to take his talents up north.
Right. And Aaron Scott, I know we'll talk about Aaron Scott later. Tavian St. Clair, excuse me, I swallowed wrong. Not currently huge huge like ranking numbers, which I'm not concerned about at this time. I think that a lot of people might say like, oh, they took the Ohio kid and they might. If Ohio State took a quarterback, it's because they wanted him. Make no mistake, Ohio State can go get whatever quarterbacks they want. Make no mistake, they can go get whatever quarterbacks they want. They don't take Sinclair into the 2025 class unless they're absolutely sure that he can do the job.
Completely agree. Yeah.
And by the way, it might not be the only quarterback in this class. Might not be the only Ohio quarterback in this class. I think Montgomery still has a legitimate shot of being a part of the Ohio State 2025 class. He is the younger brother of last year's class of the 2023 class. He is or the offensive tackle Ryan Montgomery. But the signing kid from Ohio takes the icing on the cake, I assume you mean? Yeah. Yeah, it's great. You get, and again, like maybe you get 2 kids from Ohio. Yeah. Kids want to make their own decisions at the end of the day. Yeah. Back to the cornerback thing. Bryce West, I feel like, again, there was a little bit of Michigan smoke there. I'm not worried. I was never worried. Never, ever worried about Bryce West in Michigan. You got to take your visits. You got to do your thing. Never. And by the way, he can, as far as I'm concerned, he can still take a, there were rumors, and I don't necessarily know that this has been like called off yet, that he was going to take a second visit to Michigan in like 2 weeks. And unofficial this time.
Mm-hmm.
What does that actually mean? I don't know. Maybe he still takes it. And if he does, good for him. And if he doesn't, better for Ohio State, quite frankly, but whatever. Like, maybe it's an NIL play to make Ohio State nervous, to maybe get a little bit more money in his pocket, which we're not supposed to be talking about before kids sign, right, Kyle? Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Wink, wink.
Say no more. And then Demarion Witten, another Glenville kid, big Glenville kid, 6'4", 215, as someone who's not in his senior year of high school yet. Again, numbers on none of these kids are impressive. But as far, if you just look at the rankings, but they're all 4 stars. St. Clair, I believe, is a 4-star per 24/7, and literally like a 1/10 of a point, or not even like a 1/10 of a point off of 4-star from the composite ranking. But I'm not worried about any of that. Not worried about any of that. Ohio kids are always slow to get their stars, always slow to get their rankings, because they can't camp like they want. And we've talked about that 1,000 times before. I'm not worried about it.
Yep, not worried.
These are 3 excellent ads for Ohio State. I wish maybe I should have deeper analysis, but I don't know what we can say about them that we didn't just say about them last week, or we haven't been saying about them during the entire offseason. These were 3 guys. Not that we talked about Tavian St. Clair a lot, but we did talk about Bryce West and Demarion Witten a lot as 2 guys who you absolutely had to go get. And Bryce West, I think especially, was a guy you absolutely had to go get.
Yeah,
you couldn't miss on Bryce West.
Arguably the best recruit out of the state of Ohio. So yeah, you got to get him here.
Yeah,
especially if you're looking too early here. Notre Dame's making a big push on Ohio's #1 recruit for the 2025 class here. Also a cornerback.
Yeah. And like did Notre Dame get the #1 kid from the 2023 class, or was that Michigan? It doesn't matter.
I don't remember. But
yeah, like this is what Michigan's going to recruit Ohio again. They didn't try for a long time, and now they're trying again. And with the Ohio-centric coaching staff currently over in Notre Dame land right now, they're going to be recruiting Ohio much harder than they did in recent years. You're going to have to fight for these in-state kids a lot more than you had to, and Ohio State's adjusted. Ohio State has adjusted knowing that to be the case. They are pursuing those in-state kids much harder than they ever did under Urban Meyer. And again, some of that is because of new pressures from Michigan and Notre Dame. And some of that has to do with NIL and getting kids to stay in state who want to play for Ohio State. Yeah. Zach just barely beats me to that. NIL money helps. Yeah. Absolutely. And, getting Ohio kids to play at Ohio State reduces the risk of like a last second NIL flip.
The last kid to the number one in the composite 24/7 sports to not go to Ohio State was back in 2018.
Maybe the rankings shifted. I'll say that. Maybe the rankings shifted there was a point in time.
That would have been Jackson. Jackson Carmen. But then back in 2016 was Tommy Kramer, the hackle out of Cincinnati, went to Notre Dame.
Right. I guess whoever I'm thinking of, the rankings changed, because I know that was the case for a while. But regardless, we move forward. Did he go to a Cincy Catholic school? Our resident Cincinnati expert Gangland asks.
He went to Elder.
There's your answer. Adds up. I don't know what that means, but all right. So Kyle, those are the three big ads. Elder is weird. I know you have shared some Elder slander in the past, Gangland, and I don't know enough about Cincinnati high school culture to know if you're just like shitting on them because they're like a rival or something. So I don't know how serious to take you. It's a men's volleyball school. And Ohio State is a synchronized swimming school. What's your point?
Zeke Correll. Does that name ring a bell, Jared? Zeke Correll in 2019.
No, it was either last year or the year before that. But we move forward. It's fine. Okay. So with those three guys in their respective classes, I think it's time to take a look at some other players who either visited last week and, we have some more news on or some more thoughts to share, or have just completed visiting this past weekend. And we have, some thoughts to share. So
yeah, it was another big weekend too. 2 weekends in a row for Ohio State. Well, the whole month of June on it. And yeah, so
I'm telling you right now, I've already, and we're going to wait a month or so before releasing a new mock class, but I've already made changes to it since 7 days ago. I'm not revealing those changes because I'm not going to do a mock every week, but I've already made changes to the mock. So, I mean, that's how fast these things change.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, we're kind of bouncing around talking about Aaron Scott for a moment. Again, I never believed that Bryce West was really ever going to go to Michigan. Aaron Scott, I think that there is a lot more to be nervous about as far as him potentially ending up at Michigan. I know that Aaron Scott had issues with the way his recruitment was being portrayed, the way his recruitment was being reported on, that he was just like an Ohio State guy and he was definitely going to go to Ohio State. And like, if you are I'm assuming he's 17. I don't actually know. If you're a 17-year-old and you're making the first and biggest decision of your entire life, you're getting a little bit of autonomy for the first time. You're getting to really take control of your life for the first time. I think the last thing you want is a bunch of people telling you what you're going to do before you've even decided to do it. I think he made a tweet at some point saying something along those lines. He was tired of people just placing him at Ohio State.
Yep. I mean, we've heard that number of times in recent years too. It's a recurring thing. It
is my opinion, and this is just an opinion, that's why Jackson Carman didn't go to Ohio State. But that is just my opinion. Anyway, if you're Aaron Scott, you want to make sure everyone knows you're making a decision and that it's your decision and that you've thought it out and that you've made it. And to be clear, I'm not saying that all of the Michigan talk is a smokescreen. I am not saying that. I am saying that Aaron Scott is taking his recruitment very seriously, and he is exploring options, and he is taking those options very seriously. And I think right now it's 55-45 Ohio State, 60-40 Ohio State. I still give Ohio State a lean here, but I'm not going to be absolutely floored if he goes to Michigan. Getting beat by them for the number one player in Ohio would be unbearable. He is not.
Well, per 24/7 Sports, he is, but not the composite.
Right. It just sort of depends upon who.
Yeah.
But
who you ask, yeah.
I really, really want Aaron Scott. I think he's a tremendous player. Don't panic until you see CBs to teach. Yeah, I believe there's currently like 2 or 3 crystal balls in on Aaron Scott. And all of them are pointing towards Ohio State. I will say that both of those crystal balls, I believe, have been sitting there a very long time. Oh, Kyle, with the screenshots, 2022 and 2022. Yeah, I mean, and there's a third one. Also, that one's more recent. That's April 2023. Like you could look at those crystal balls from Wilfong and from Kirk, and you could just be like, maybe that's why he's mad. When you get that Wilfong crystal ball, people are just like, oh, well, he's definitely going there. Again, he wants the decision to be his, and he wants everyone to know that the decision is his.
Mm-hmm.
And I respect him for that. Don't take the kid's autonomy away. I still think he ends up at Ohio State, but I'm not sure. And I've not heard anything. I don't know if I've said this yet. He just visited Ohio State this past weekend. He just visited Ohio State. I have not heard, seen, read. I have no information that makes me feel any different. And I said that like I was going to say more words. I wasn't. I don't feel any different. Had a sick visit photo in a starter jacket. Yeah, he did. I'm just saying, like, I had Ohio State with a slight lead going into the weekend. I have Ohio State with a slight lead coming out of the weekend, and I've just not seen or heard or read anything to change my mind on that. I think Berm said all the visits went great again. The visits always go great. Everyone always has a great time. They heard all the things they needed to hear. I would expect Berm to say nothing less, but that's because Berm is like any of the other like major recruiting guys. He is repeating things that the players say to him and that the coaches say to him. The players are eager to please. They just got an Ohio State. They just did an Ohio State visit. They're talking to an Ohio State beat writer. They're going to say what they think that the reporter wants to hear, which is that everything's great.
Yep. And
then, of course, the coaching staff at Ohio State is going to go to Berm and say everything went great. Now, Berm's been doing this a long time. He knows how to read between the lines, and he knows how to read the tea leaves of, was it great because they said it was great, or, were they actually excited? He's a professional. He knows what he's doing. But I'm just saying that, like, sometimes a visit goes absolutely great and then they go somewhere else. And that's okay. Because, they can go on 5 great visits, but they still just have to pick one place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Except that one time we put a recruit on College Game Day. I don't know who the we is in that sentence, but I don't think the coaching staff was happy about that or involved in that.
Yeah.
Like the coaching staff knew they had to walk away from the recruitment after that. Like they weren't told that. They knew that. Someone else effed that up.
So speaking of with a sick photo and had a great time, Jared, this guy. As soon as it wants to load, there it goes. On our next topic here, Justin Scott.
Yeah. Justin Scott is a big man.
Yeah, he is. Yes, he is.
This feels like a real outside opportunity for Ohio State. Kyle just puts his info down in the chat. 21st nationally, number 1 from Illinois, one of the best defensive tackles in this entire class.
6'4", 310.
Yeah.
That's a big boy coming at you.
Yeah. And of course, as things go, they went great. It was a great visit. Yada, yada, yada. And I think Ohio State went from having little to no chance to having little chance. Or like outside chance, like a slightly more than little chance. And I'm not, and maybe that's progress. But like you go from basically no chance to actually getting him to show up on campus, which is always the biggest thing you can do, to, okay, can you now start to, get him to start thinking about Ohio State instead of Georgia, instead of Miami, instead of Notre Dame? Because those appear to be the contenders. Michigan as well, I think, in the conversation. Yep. Getting him to not go to Notre Dame or to not go to Georgia or the other schools I mentioned will be challenging. You can, like I said, you can get him to show up and you can get him to really, really like Ohio State and really, really think about Ohio State. But how do you get him to choose Ohio State over those other schools that he's been considering more heavily for a longer time? So it's an uphill battle. Ohio State has placed themselves in the battle, which I think is as good as you can get right now. And I think what you hope for at this point is that he waits a really long time to commit. That he waits all the way till December or maybe even into the spring, because he's a 5-star kid and he can afford to wait into the spring if he so chooses. And you just sort of hope that he gives you as much of an opportunity as you can, and you hope that he waits as long as he can to give you as much opportunity as possible. We need to get LJ to this man's basketball game or family barbecue or whatever. LJ Grandpa Magic, he still has in the tank. Oh, for sure. For sure. And like, if anyone can do it, Larry Johnson can do it.
Absolutely. All right. Next up here, Jared. Kingston Villamu-Asa out of California, one of the top linebackers in the country here, Bellflower, California, to be precise here. Was one of the part of the recruits for this last weekend that visited Ohio State here. What have you heard from him?
I've had him in our mock class for 2, maybe 3. They're giving you props for proper pronunciation, Kyle, which is funny because I don't know if any of them know how to say it either. I think. Nope, I do not. Yeah, at least they're being honest.
We're sticking with it. We're going to stick with it. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. All right, continue, Jared.
St. John Bosco, Bellflower, California, a school that Ohio State has had some success with in the past. 6'3", 230, feels like a traditional old school power linebacker. Like I said, I've had him in the mock class in our mock class for several mock classes running. Got to get him on campus, got to get, you got to do all those things. And I think Kyle, and maybe I won't give this away yet, but, with all of the Twitter buzz and everything, that maybe a guy could be committing. I got him on the short list. I'm not saying he's like the one I'd choose. In fact, we'll ask that question at the end of the show. But I think he's on the short list. I think Asa, I think, is a when, not if at this point. Like, I feel like if I'm putting like a 0 out of 10 confidence score here, I'm at like 9.735. Not 9.736, 9.735, but also not 9.734, 9.735.
All right. Who would you like to start with next here?
That's totally up to you, Kyle. Where you want to go?
Well, let's stick with the defensive line. Let's talk about, I mentioned him last week here. Edrick Houston, another kid here that Ohio State's trying to steal out of the state of Georgia here.
Yeah.
We mentioned last week he does have a commitment date in the end of August here. And yeah, Ohio State is in the running to potentially get him and bring him up to Ohio.
He still has a visit, I believe, upcoming for Alabama.
He does. No, that was this weekend.
Oh, okay. Okay.
He visited.
So
he went to Clemson, then Georgia. Previous weekend was Ohio State, and then just this last weekend here was Alabama.
Okay. Unless Alabama pulls some sort of Alabama magic, I believe he's a Buckeye. That's it. I think he's a good schematic fit for Ohio State, and I think that's one of the things that is a big advantage for Ohio State is that I just think he fits in the Ohio State scheme better than he fits in either the Bama or Georgia scheme at this time. If we get a chain of high profile defensive commits, there will be an armed citizens militia honor guard flanking I-71 for the start of camp. I mean, you overestimate the amount of recruiting that the average fan pays attention to. I'll just say that. I'm a football degen. Yeah, exactly. You're watching this live. You're a degen. It's just no. It would break through to the casuals. It really wouldn't. I hate to break this to you. No, it wouldn't. How many people in Columbus right now could, if pressed immediately, could actually answer the question, who do you think Ohio State's quarterback's going to be? And be able to name both of the guys in the running. Because it's not as many as you think. You think that's ridiculous because you're such a super fan that you pay money to a podcast and listen to a podcast recording live and listen to 50 other Ohio State If you're watching or listening to this, you think that's ridiculous. In the city, 15%. Gangland, not just in the city among self-proclaimed Buckeye fans. And it's probably about 15%. I think that's a decent number. Living in Columbus, self-proclaimed Buckeye fans. I'm just saying, you'd be shocked at how little recruiting the casual person pays attention to.
Yep.
8 is if you ask them about the Browns. We're a Bengals city now. You didn't know? All right, Kyle, Edrick Houston, I think, great pickup for Ohio State. Should they get Edrick Houston, 27th best player nationally, 5-star player, number 5 in the DL category in 24/7. What does that mean exactly? It doesn't mean all defensive linemen, because we know it doesn't count edge rushers. I hate the whole 24/7 thing where they switch to edge and DL. I don't know what the hell that means. I'm just going to say it. I mean, I do, but it's still annoying. Number 6 player out of state of Georgia.
All right. The next, we'll stick with the defensive side here, Jared.
43% of subscribers will say they're happy no matter who wins the quarterback job. If you know, you know. Not touching that one, but did I read it out loud? Yes, I did.
Sticking with the state of Georgia here, Jared.
Same high school even.
Yeah, Beaufort. Actually pronounced both ways.
Oh, really? I've only ever heard it pronounced Buford.
There's a, you know what? I'm going to mess it up here. I forget which one's in North Carolina, which one's in South Carolina. But
this one's in Georgia, and they call it Buford.
Okay, one's Beaufort and the other's Buford.
Okay. I've never heard of Buford, Georgia called anything other than Buford.
Well, South Carolina's special, I guess. So, KJ Bolden. We're talking about KJ Bolden here, Jared. Safety, arguably one of the best players in this recruiting class here. Definitely, we talked about with a previous person here, uphill battle for Ohio State if they're going to get him. Another one here, but
I think they've already made a sprint up that hill, though. I think it's between Ohio State and Georgia at this point.
I think it is too, but I think KJ's from recent activities here, it seems like he's probably most likely going to go to Georgia, especially with 3 crystal balls, including Steve Wiltfong, putting in their crystal balls to Georgia.
Yeah. Which is why I hope Raiola is super annoying and drives Buford dudes away. Yeah, he another Buford note. Dylan Raiola is transferring to Buford.
Yes.
Kirby Smart didn't want him not being in the state, apparently. I said it last week that during the mock class that I think that between KJ Bolden and Peyton Woodyard, that one of them ends up in Georgia and one of them ends up in Columbus. I stick by that.
Gangling, that's actually a good point. Kind of backtracking to Houston. Ohio State's defense definitely fits more of what Edrick Houston, that is the type of defense Ohio State runs, fits what Houston's looking for, a 4-3 defense rather than the 3-4 that Georgia typically runs. So that advantage for Ohio State. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, I said the same thing. So
yeah. But yeah, to me, for KJ Bolden here, I think it'd be a miracle if Ohio State gets him now. Yeah, they made their push here, but that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough.
And that's what he was saying, wasn't it? That Beaufort in North Carolina and there's a Buford in South Carolina. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We move forward. Just clarifying. That's fine. I almost went down into those weeds and then I decided not to. That's the only thing that happened there, Spikes. I said it last week. That Bolden ends up, at Ohio State or Georgia, and that Peyton Woodyard ends up at Ohio State or Georgia, and that they won't both be going to the same school. The one thing I would say that I've changed about that, despite the fact that Peyton Woodyard is currently committed to Georgia, that's a thing. But at this point, I think it's either Ohio State or it's USC. Peyton Woodyard is in California. That should be pointed out. That should be noted. Another St. John Bosco kid. Again, committed to Georgia not long after, or maybe right before the national title game. But he's not going to Georgia at this point. Like, I'm just throwing that out there. I don't think he's going to Georgia at this point. So the disaster scenario here is that Bolden goes to Georgia and Woodyard goes to USC. I think is the disaster scenario here. I still believe that Ohio State gets one of them. Ohio State will not get both of them, but neither will Georgia and neither will USC. But there's 2 kids in 3 schools. The good news, if you're Ohio State, is that you're in the running for both of them. Which at this point, I don't think you could say the same thing about Georgia, because I think Woodyard is out on Georgia again, despite the fact he's currently committed there. And I don't think USC was ever in on KJ Bolden, not seriously. So yeah, disaster scenarios, Bolden to Georgia and Woodyard to USC, which is possible. Ohio State already has a really good safety in this class, so it wouldn't be the worst thing that ever happened. And there's a couple other safeties out there that I think Ohio State could get in on. Jacob Jude, Jordan Johnson-Rebel, Gangland says Reggie Powers would commit in an instant. Probably Reggie Powers. Ohio State has a great relationship with Reggie Powers. He ends up committing to Michigan State. Would he sort of drop everything and commit to Ohio State if Ohio State came calling, or would he be like, no, you guys had your chance and you wanted someone better, and I've made my choice? I've seen kids react both ways in that scenario. How would Reggie Powers react? I don't know. But there are backup plans, and like I said, they already have Jalen McClain, who's an excellent safety in the class. So again, if they miss out on Woodyard and Bolden, it's not going to be the worst thing that ever happened. They'll be fine. But of course you want both of them. If you can get both of them, you get both of them. But I don't think that's even semi-realistic.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Anybody else, Jared? Anybody else you want to talk about?
Guerby Lambert. I want to talk about Guerby Lambert. I think Ohio State is in on 2 kids, 2 high-profile offensive tackles to finish out the Ohio State offensive line class. We talked about this in detail last week, so I'm not going to harp on it again too much, but they have 4 excellent offensive linemen currently in the class. I think what they currently lack in this class is a second true offensive tackle. One of the Armstrong twins is absolutely an offensive tackle. The other one's like tackle, guard, tackle. They need to add a true left side elite offensive tackle into this class in order for this offensive line class to be a true success. Lambert
fits that role right there.
100%.
6'6", 280. You put it on an extra 15 pounds there. You're good. You're a good tackle there.
Yeah. Composite has him at number 50 overall in the entire country, the second best offensive tackle. 3 schools involved here. I think 300 is a good weight for a tackle. I'll say this based off of just pictures and video I've seen. The 280 he has is a good 280. That this is not a sloppy 280 by any means. Like he doesn't look like a overly rotund 280. I'll say that. 15 tips to negotiate a great salary. Threaten a coup. Okay.
We're moving on, Jared.
One of the weird things about Guerby Lambert, okay, so one, he's from Massachusetts. That's not necessarily weird, but you don't see a ton of football talent come out of Massachusetts. But what's weird here is that a lot of the times, outside of being named Guerby, hey, we want him to come to Ohio State. Let's be nice. A lot of, we always like to joke about like the one, he learned to fight. That's a valid point. I wonder if he actually goes by Guerby or if there's like a nickname we're not aware of yet. A lot of times when you see like, we joke about this all of the time, where you'll see a kid who's like from South Carolina, who's like final 5 will be like Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. Or, and then Ohio State and Clemson, right? You'll see a kid from Indiana whose final 5 is Ohio State and Michigan and Notre Dame and Indiana and LSU. It's like there's always just like that. They're keeping the local school in on it, just like for niceties. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Final 3, I don't know if this is official, but just like per everything I've read, we're really down to 3 schools on Guerby Lambert. It's Ohio State, it's Notre Dame, and it's Boston College. Here's the weird part, though, is that apparently Boston College is a very legit contender here. Like this is apparently not just like throwing a bone to the local school. Guerby Lambert is apparently very big on like life after football. Kid's a brainiac, huh? Yeah, that's essentially what I was saying when I say he's very interested in life after football.
Random thing, Jared.
Yeah.
Last Ohio State commit coming from the state of Massachusetts.
Is that was NPF Massachusetts?
Nope.
No.
I thought
he was New Jersey.
Yeah.
Or
I think
York.
New Jersey, New York. It was a long time ago.
Okay. Stop teasing.
2012 was the last time Ohio State.
Ago.
Well, that was 11 years ago. That's a long time ago.
It's not that long ago, Kyle. For God's sake, stop making me feel old. It's not that long ago.
They actually got two players from the state of Massachusetts. Armani Reeves.
Okay.
And Cameron Williams.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, the weird thing here is that don't take Boston College lightly. And that's really it. And again, they're sorted down to Guerby Lambert. And again, don't rule out the possibility that it's Brandon Baker instead of Guerby Lambert. But Kyle, I talked last week how I don't trust those Monarchs from California. They never end up coming here. That's all I'm going to say about Brandon Baker right now. Never trust them. They never come here. They always say they're going to come here. They never come here. And that's all I have to say about that, I think. I mean, it really even to the point where I don't even have, it doesn't matter. We move forward. So I think, Kyle, I think that's everyone we wanted to talk about in great detail. So the question next, and I'm throwing this open to both our live Discord chat and also anyone watching this on YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Who's next? Again, now it's almost 9:30. As far as I know, no one's committed in the hour since we've been talking. I really don't expect a commitment to come in at this hour. So Kyle, we might actually get away with this who's next question being totally legitimate. Who's next? You got to pick one. Don't give me a list. One? It's got to be one name. And that goes for everyone in the Discord and anyone in the YouTube comments. I don't want a list of names. I don't want a tier list. I don't want a ranking from 1 to 5. I want a single name.
Man, that's that's tough. Just Ohio State's just been on fire this month here. And trying to think of one more person to kind of finish off an outstanding June recruiting month here.
Yeah. Gangland throws one out there for Asa.
I don't think Aaron's going to commit soon, so I don't think it's going to be Aaron. Not Justin Scott here.
No, I don't. If Justin Scott commits before the end of June, it's bad news for Ohio State. I'll say that much. Aaron Scott, I have no feelers for timing on at this point.
Honestly, my gut feeling, Jared, if it's going to be anybody, and I don't think it's going to happen, I think it might be Lambert. I'll go with Lambert just because he's been to Ohio State a lot recently. He's made a lot of visits to Ohio State in
isn't Scott committing July 4th or 6th? That is currently what he's saying. Yes. I have a feeling we'll see if he sticks to it. That's all I'm going to say. And I don't know anything. I do not know anything. Putting that out there. I'm not trying to act like I know something. I don't know anything. We'll see if he sticks to it.
I'll just go with Lambert just because of his recent visits to Ohio State.
Okay. Lambert's a tough read at this point. That's all I'm going to say. Like he's
yeah. No, I understand, but I just don't have any. I just don't see the others here. Maybe you can put in Edrick Houston, maybe, but I just don't see any of the ones that we've listed to make their decision soon.
Okay. Buckeye Esquire says Miles Lockhart. I think not someone we didn't talk too deeply into the cornerbacks outside of Scott and West in this episode. We did talk about Miles Lockhart a lot last week, and I think Miles Lockhart is an excellent guess. I think Miles Lockhart's an excellent guess. And in fact, I'm stuck between him and Asa. If we're really choosing the next member of this class, I am going to go with Lockhart. I really wanted to go with KVA as well, but Miles Lockhart's my guy. Just going to, would Lockhart commitment impact Aaron Scott? No. This is going to be Ohio State only took 2 corners in last year's class. They missed late on some guys. They only took 2 cornerbacks in last year's class. Now they do go to the transfer portal and grab a an excellent player from Ole Miss who only has 1 year of experience. But by the time these guys get on the field who have 3 years of experience, we technically did grab 3. Oh, Styles. Yeah, but Styles is a senior, right? Like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about freshmen. I'm talking about freshmen. Because like we're talking about the impact on, the 2023 class impacting the 2024 class is specifically what I'm talking about here. Because again, they also got, Iggy, as you said. But anyway, what I was saying is that this is going to be a large cornerback class, and I can't imagine that Ohio State has done anything other than say, we're going to take a bunch of cornerbacks to all of the cornerbacks. They only got 2 freshmen last year. What did I write down in my mock? Cornerbacks 4 or 5 is what I wrote down in my notes for the mock. I think the number's 4 for the record. But if it was the right player, they'd take 5 and they'd figure out a way to do it. If they get 4 guys and then all of a sudden Kobe Black decides, no, I'm not feeling Texas anymore. Y'all got any room up there in Columbus? They'd be like, hell yeah, Kobe, come on. For the right guy, for the right group of guys, they'd take 5. So yeah, I do not see that being. I don't see Miles Lockhart joining as any sort of hindrance to Aaron Scott. The only thing I would see is like a hindrance to Aaron Scott would maybe be like a guy like Kobe Black. But one, I think Kobe Black's going to Austin, and 2, if you were to come to Columbus, it wouldn't be immediately anyway. It would be months from now. Because, like I was saying with Justin Scott, if he commits next week, it's not going to be to Ohio State. If you want to get Kobe Black, if you want to get Justin Scott, you have to hope that those recruitments last a really long time so that you have time to catch up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So
it would have to be like an elite level player. And it's not me knocking Miles Scott, who I think has an excellent future in college football by any means. But like if you do Bryce West plus Kobe Black, then maybe at that point, Aaron Scott gets nervous about playing time or whatnot. Miles Lockhart, again, I think will be an excellent player, but like the recruiting rankings and whatnot aren't going to jump off the page and scare you if you're another cornerback. And again, the rankings are what the rankings are. They're not perfect. And again, I think Miles Lockhart has an excellent future at Ohio State. Should he choose Ohio State, which I think he will. So I'm not knocking Miles Lockhart, but I'm talking like how much room is there for like 5-star or near 5-star cornerbacks in the class? So no, I don't think Lockhart committing affects Aaron Scott in any sort of way. Again, this was always going to be a big cornerback class.
All right, anything else, Jared, before we wrap things up?
No. By the way, I'm cheating. It's my show. I can do it. I'm gonna throw a bonus name out there for next to commit, and this is a flyer. This is a real flyer. You ready for this one?
Mm-hmm.
Carter Lowe. Jared, who the hell's Carter Lowe? He's an offensive tackle for the 2025 class. God, we got two guys in the 2025 class. Time to get that ball rolling now too. We might have to, I don't know if it'll be next week, maybe sometime in July, Kyle. I think we need to do like a class of 2025 primer. We need to do like I don't think we've talked about the class of 2025 at all. I think we need a 2025 primer episode and soon.
All right.
We won't be doing a mock. We're not that crazy. We don't go that far out in advance. But a primer, sure. We can do a primer. Yep, Kyle throwing that info down there. Yeah, I don't know what there is to know about 2025 yet. That's totally fair. Again, Ohio State only has 2 commitments there so far. Carter Lowe, big in-state prospect. But they say he's in state, but it's Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like saying he's in state, but it's Cincinnati and he goes to a Catholic school. Like it's just not a slam dunk. Wait, Kyle, the Catholic school kids in Cincinnati go to Notre Dame. That's not. I know. What's that face? What's that face?
I'm just you, Jared. You being you. It's just you being you.
You acted like I said something out of pocket. I felt like that was totally in pocket. Okay.
Just don't stop being you.
Okay. That's all I needed to hear. Kyle, what do you have in Kyle's corner?
Speaking of Cincinnati,
let's get through 23 first. We're talking about recruiting classes, Zach. We have to get through 24 first. We're always a year ahead on recruiting. There you go. All right. Sorry, Kyle.
Anybody want any some good vibe news?
Yes.
You want some good vibe news, or do you want something about making fun of a former coach?
Oh, Kyle's offering you feel good or Schadenfreude. Those are your 2 choices, everyone. Both. Why not both?
Why not both?
Why not both? Because we're brushing up on that hour. That's why. Kyle, maybe do an abbreviated version of both.
All right. Yeah. I did not know this until I saw this coming up, but Drew Chrisman is with the Bengals now. I did not realize that.
Yes, sir.
But
yes.
He's doing great things down in Cincinnati here. Don't know if anybody knew this or saw this come up within this last week here, but he's also a DoorDash driver. For
I know the Bengals are
Cincinnati.
cheap, but holy hell!
Yeah, well,
I say acting like I don't know the story.
All money that Drew Chrisman is making for DoorDash is all donated to those in need down in Cincinnati there. Yeah, and he'll take that money and he buys food, pizzas, and just drives down to downtown Cincinnati and just he's like, hey, who's hungry? Gives out pizzas and water bottles and it helps out as much as he can there.
Ronald McDonald House is down there. Is that where he's taking it, Gangland? Is that where he takes like the extra food and stuff? Is that what you're saying? Not sure, but it's an option. Okay.
Yeah, here you go for those in the chat here. Here's a little video of him recently that he went to a local pizza place, grabbed like 10, 12 boxes of pizza and just went downtown and just asked who's hungry and started giving out pizza and water bottles there. So good stuff by Drew Chrisman. Good stuff there.
To answer the question, why are you a DoorDash driver, Drew? I use the money I make to spend at local restaurants and hand food out around town. Hope that clears things up. See, it's not just because the Bengals are cheap. You have to make a Bengals are cheap joke. You have to do it. All right, Kyle, what's the Schadenfreude news?
I'm sure people have seen the Seen the news coming out of LSU. NCAA vacating 37 wins under Leslie Edwin Miles. Did not know that Les Miles' name was Leslie. Did you know that, Jared?
What else would Les stand for? Don't answer that.
I don't know. I didn't think it was
still
Leslie.
It is still Pride.
Lester.
Oh, okay. I was going to say it's still Pride Month. Please don't answer that.
So that brings his total official win record at 108 wins and 73 losses, which is just under the 600 winning percentage, which just makes him ineligible for the Hall of Fame.
As the kids would say, wah wah.
So
Leslie is
vacating
a prominent
the wins from
Southern
2012 through 2015 there.
Isn't he from Michigan,
wins.
though, Zach?
Yeah, he was.
I feel like Leslie used to be a masculine name, or at least a genderless name, I guess. Because wasn't what was his name? I can't think of his name. Did they void anything from the 2007 season? They did not.
Nope.
No, they did not. Yeah, but just because they vacated it doesn't mean it's a vacation. Vacation? It's vacated. It's not. Over under 9.5 years until LSU has to forfeit their 2019 title. I mean, they were literally handing out cash. Although I guess if the cash was being handed out at the end of the national championship game, they're no longer. They didn't play any games ineligible, right? Because the game was over. Leslie, Stacy, Lindsay are all intersex names. Nothing wrong with that besides the laughs. No, by any means. And also there was once a boy named Sue. So that's a thing. Kyle, do you have anything else in Kyle's corner? Is there a trifecta coming?
I've spent too much time in Kyle's corner here, so
according to the chat and at least a vocal portion of the fan base, that's not true.
All right. Well, that's it. We'll end it right there.
Okay. Tonight's ending music, Kyle. Tonight's ending music will be brought to you by, let's go with Up the Vine by the Floorwalkers. Up the Vine by the Floorwalkers. They're a jazzy sort of pop band. So everyone stay tuned. If you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, you just keep listening and that music's coming. If you're watching us on YouTube, it's down in the show notes. You can click on the link and listen as well if you would like to. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support local podcasters. Once again, these are the Floorwalkers.